Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do kind of a first look at one of my sidearms that I carry while I'm out hiking or hunting. It's kind of a woods defense gun, if you will. This is my Rock Island Armory 1911, chambered in 45 ACP initially, but I've swapped out some springs and been testing some 45 Super, which we'll shoot today. First thing we're going to do is put a few rounds through my new Wilson's Combat 10 round magazine. We're just going to be shooting it with standard recoil spring in here. I'll go over some of the things that I've done to this gun in just a couple of minutes before we shoot 45 Super, but I want to see how this magazine cycles with a reliable load. This is the Winchester, I believe it's the Ranger law enforcement rounds, and I'm pretty sure the projectile it uses is the old Black Talon or some variant of the Black Talon. So let's see how it does with a few shots here just to begin with. I've got a target at 10 yards. This is nothing scientific. It's not a gel block or anything like that. Nothing fancy. It's just to see how the gun cycles with the new parts. Five will be enough for me for now, and we'll switch it out and get to the 45 Super. Before I shoot the 45 Super loads, I want to show you guys some of the things that I've done to this 1911. The first is I put in the shock buff recoil buffers from Wilson's Combat. This goes on the guide rod on the receiver of the 1911, and it helps absorb some of that metal on metal wear and recoil. The next thing that I've done is replace the firing pin return spring for an extra powerful one from Wilson's Combat. I've also replaced the hammer spring for a full-size extra powerful. This is a 25-pound hammer spring from Wilson Combat. Of course, I just showed you that the magazine is the 10-round magazine, single stack for 1911s from Wilson Combat. And the last thing and the most important piece to this whole 45 Super build, if you will, is the recoil spring. This is for a 5-inch full-size 1911. It's a 24-pound recoil spring from Wilson Combat. Before I go any further, I forgot to mention one other part. And it's not the grips, but if you can see right there, that's the firing pin plate or the firing pin stop. That's the original one. I replaced it for an oversized part from EGW to help hold that lockup position when I'm firing and increase the resistance for that slide before it reciprocates. The rounds that I'm going to be shooting come from Underwood ammunition. This is a 255 grain hard cast powder coated bullet, and out of the standard barrel and everything from Rock Island. I spoke with the folks at Underwood. They think that this will be a good shooting gun, and we'll see what it does right now. I'm going to put 5 rounds in the magazine and see if it locks open at the end of the 5 rounds. Lock open at the end of 5 rounds. Everything fed the way it's supposed to. They put off a little bit more powder, a little bit of a different smell as that powder coating kind of burns coming out the end of the barrel. And of course there's a little bit more recoil, but it's still a fairly soft shooting gun and very smooth and all with the action. Again, this is nothing scientific, but you can see the target here. This was a flyer when I was shooting the Winchester normal 45 ACP rounds in the beginning, and I had 4 that grouped here. And then the last 5 shots that I shot with that hard cast ammunition were all right down here. a very tight grouping, for me anyways, for free-handing shots at about 10 yards. Well, after all that, I just realized I never did put in the high power spring. So here's the high power spring in the gun. I've replaced it now off camera. I'm gonna shoot 5 more rounds and see if the slide will lock open just like I did before. That's just part of amateur YouTube filming, I guess. There's 5 more shots. The slide locked open. And I'll go grab the target. There's the target, not a whole lot different than it was before. I noticed some of my grouping was down here more. I don't know if the spring itself made a difference or if it was just my shooting, but at about 10 or 12 yards, a fist-sized group is good enough for me. I have already put a box of Underwood ammo 45 Super through this gun, but I was using the 230 grain jacketed hollow point, which I believe is a Nosler hollow point. It's very similar to the Hornady XTP, and it goes about 1100 feet per second. The 255 grain hard cast that I just shot are marked on the box as going about 1075 feet per second. With a 255 grain bullet out of a normal 1911, that's pretty impressive. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. God bless.